Good evening, everybody. Sorry to interrupt your dinner. For those of you who don't remember, I'm Walter Isaacson, and I'm now officially in the category of forgotten but not gone. It's my great pleasure tonight to introduce and to interview somebody I not only admire deeply, but I've come to really like, a truly wonderful person, Priscilla Chan. She's, of course, the co-founder of the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative, and together they're trying to advance human potential and promote equal opportunity, both in science and in education and advocacy, bringing down the systemic barriers to opportunity, from housing to criminal justice to healthcare to education. So there can be, in my mind, nobody more fitting for our Public Service Award, because what they do and the values they embody are the ones that we aspire to. They do it in a very metric-driven way, pairing world-class engineers with experts in science, education, and public policy. They're bringing technology to philanthropy that's never been seen before in the hopes of accelerating the progress and discovery. I also had the opportunity to hear about the primary school, a school that Priscilla founded and is now the CEO of in East Palo Alto. And it does what our Aspen program, what Kathy has talked about a lot, which is not just do education, but do wraparound services for the entire neighborhood that serves children in East Palo Alto. She earned her BA in biology at Harvard and her MD at the University of California, San Francisco. She completed her pediatrics training at UCSF and then served as a practicing pediatrician at San Francisco General. But more importantly, she served in one of the clinics that makes sure that the underserved can get the medical care and all of the services that they deserve. Before pursuing medicine, she worked as an 8th grade science teacher, and throughout her college career was an after-school tutor in the housing project in Boston. She is the daughter of Chinese Vietnamese refugees, the first in her family to attend college. Her personal story is at the heart not only of what CZI does, but what America does, providing equal opportunity and a new chance for each generation. It's my pleasure to present the Public Service Award to Priscilla Chan. Priscilla? There you go. You don't have to take it with you. It's like this. You have to pose for a picture with it, and then we will. Great. I'll put it here. We'll. Now have a seat. You have to, or.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Aspen Institute. Thank you, everyone here. This is an incredible honor. Mark and I are just at the beginning of our journey. And so I'll take this as a vote of confidence that you believe in us and you want us to achieve our mission and vision. But I want to share two important things that many of you have done to make it possible for me to be here today talking about this work. First of all, I am the American dream. Like Walter said, daughter of Chinese Vietnamese refugees that left the country in a boat and came to this amazing country where they believed that anything was possible for those who worked for it. And if you froze my life that very first day that they dropped me off at Harvard, I would have lived the fullest version of the American dream that they could have imagined for me. And all that is possible because of the work that you guys all do here for families like mine. So for that, thank you. And second of all, thank you for showing how inspirational and nimble philanthropy can be in changing the great public sector that we have in our country. You've shown that philanthropy can take risks, can experiment, can push the boundaries of what's possible. You've shown that every kid should be able to get the access to high-quality education that they deserve. You've invested in science that is beyond our wildest dreams of what we thought was possible. And you've fought hard for just systems that we all deserve in this country. So you are the foundation from which Mark and I get to build our work at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. We have taken that and we're standing on your shoulders and adding what is authentic to us. My work as an educator and pediatrician, Mark's work as an engineer and entrepreneur. And we're trying to layer on the viewpoints of a frontline practitioner and an engineer and building solutions that can scale to many and not just the lucky few. And so for that, thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence. Thank you for continuing this journey with us. Thank you.
Tell me about the path you took. When you arrived at Harvard, I think you get involved with Phillips Brooks House, and tell us what that did for you.
So showing up at Harvard was a pretty rough ride. And Phillips Brooks House gave me the how and the why. When I got to campus, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, and I was failing. I was a fish out of water. And I was ready to transfer. I got my application to, reapply to college again because I didn't belong there. But I also realized how lucky I was to get there in the first place, so I wanted to give back. And I went to the Phillips Brooks House, the service house at Harvard, and met an amazing group of people, the adults, my peers, who had very similar backgrounds to mine and had been able to be successful in these amazing leaders within public service. They showed me the how. They showed me how to get help, how to study, how to succeed in the classroom.
And they also worked with you so that you ended up in Dorchester, right?
Yeah.
Giving back already, even as an undergraduate.
Yeah, so I was able, through this amazing scholarship, to be able to apply my work study to service instead of working in the library or the cafeteria, because I needed to do that for my obligation at the school. And I was able to work in a public housing project in Dorchester, the next neighborhood over from where I had grown up. And those kids in that program taught me the why I needed to stay at Harvard and why I needed to persevere and build those skills as a leader. Because the kids that I was taking care of needed so much more than what I could provide as a teenager. We had kids who were victims of violence, who were unhealthy, who were unsafe, or not getting to school. And I had the opportunity to care for them, but also have them be the inspiration for my career of service thus far.
And how did you decide to become a pediatrician?
There was this little girl at my after-school program who I had taken care of, and she was missing from school for a number of days. And someone from school came to the program and asked me to help her find her, and I said, sure. And then I walked out into the playground of the housing project after program that day, and I found her immediately. And I asked her, where have you been? I was so upset with her. I'm worried about you. And she started talking, and I knew exactly why. She wasn't in program. The bottom of her 2 front teeth were broken and missing. And I had so many thoughts. Was she hurt? Was she sick? Did someone hurt her? And I had failed. And I couldn't shake myself of that feeling. And in that moment, being probably 21, I I needed more skills. I needed to be able to help kids like her because they're just like me, but I got lucky. So I decided to spend a decade to become a doctor. I'm very proud of that, love taking care of patients, but ultimately was hitting my head against the wall in the same way. I could diagnose things in the clinic, but there's no prescription for the problems that kids like this little girl I'm talking about face. You have to get into the community. You have to get into the lives of the people you're trying to serve outside of the ivory tower. And so after a decade of training to be a pediatrician, I left to found the primary school where I hope to be able to better serve children like her and like myself.
Tell me about the primary school. It's in East Palo Alto, and it's not just a school.
No, so the primary school is a place where we're trying to redefine the way we care for kids. And that means three things for us. Empowering parents. Parents are the core of this, but they need the skills to be able to advocate for their child. We deliver a high quality education, but we start early. We know that a ton of development happens when the child is an infant. And so we aim to enroll early in life. Our latest class was enrolled in infancy. And then we start full day school when they're 3 years old. And the last part is really redefining the way we deliver health care. We want to redefine the way we deliver primary care, because right now, too much of it happens siloed in the clinic. And the doctor doesn't have the connections or the understanding of what's going on in a child's life to really address those problems. And so we partner as a school with the Federally Qualified Health Center to really be able to effectively care for kids together.
You just talked about very early childhood and the divergences that happen there. I know Jackie and Mike Bezos are here. You've worked with Ann Mosley of the Aspen Institute Ascend program. What can we do in the very early childhood to make sure everybody has the same chance or opportunity?
The way we're approaching that problem at the primary school is twofold. One is attachment. The idea that you have to nurture and love a child and for them to feel safely attached to an adult. And that's a lot of that is adult facing. As much as we all love to cuddle babies, it's the parents and the adults that need the support in that time to address maternal depression, to help them overcome a lot of the trauma that's happening in their lives to be able to adequately bond with their baby. And then the other piece is the language gap. We were just talking about the 30 million word gap that kids have by the age of 5 between the high socioeconomic families and the low socioeconomic families. That's huge, and that's before the very first day of kindergarten. And so there's a lot of programs that work in decreasing that word gap, and we do a combination. We do coaching and services to the parents before the kid is 3, and then we have a very rigorous school and with play, discovery, inquiry after the kid is 3.
You mentioned that when you were tutoring in Dorchester, the girl had dental problems. I think we probably don't think about that enough in rooms like this. At the primary school, have you seen things like that, like the dental problems being things that we haven't yet been able to solve?
Dental care is so incredibly important. We know that about 25% of all kids have chronic dental pain or dental problems that prevent them from being fully present in the classroom. And when you look at the educational outcomes, that's a little bit more than, they attain a little bit less than a full year's worth of educational achievement. And that's dental care, something that a lot of us take for granted. And so one thing that we're doing at the primary school is really making sure every one of our kids has access to good dental care. And our partner, a federally qualified health center called Ravenswood, comes on site and does what we call virtual dental clinic. They do the cleanings and checkups and education of the kids in the classroom. They don't have to miss school. They come on in. It's really straightforward, and we fill in the parents on what happened and how to follow up afterwards. That's our aim of how we can seamlessly deliver healthcare with the school as a strong partner.
CZI has become so big. Are you able to stay hands-on, like through the primary school?
You have to be. It's staying hands-on at the primary school is my inspiration of why I do this work. I wouldn't be able to do what I do at the philanthropy if I didn't have these families inspiring me and anchoring me and teaching me about what needs to be done to help kids and family.
It's been 2 years, right, since CZI was started. What have you learned? What mistakes are you rectifying?
We've grown a lot in the past 2 years. We launched in December of 2015. And we have learned that we need to actually work hard to bring different sectors together. Initially, we're working on education, science, and justice and opportunity. No one in their right mind would start essentially three foundations at the same time. That's crazy, you shouldn't do that. But we did because we thought they could be standalone, that a standalone organization could solve these hard problems of giving kids a personalized education, curing all disease. I know that one has other eyebrow-raising attributes, and giving every adult just opportunities in our country.
How do you see those as related?
Well, we thought they weren't, but what we realized and learned is that the solution set comes from our willingness to advocate and actually speak out upon these issues, and building tools together. And so we have a large engineering team, a little bit more than 100, so half of our organization are engineers, building great tools for the classroom, great tools for the scientists. And we realize we can't separate these, that the cross-cutting functions that are our tools of for-profit investment, nonprofit investment, building technology, advocacy, that's the tool set. That collision is what's important and what is our unique place in philanthropy. And so we've spent a lot of time pulling these different tools together into one organization.
Does it help that you're structured as an LLC, a limited liability corporation, rather than a philanthropy per se?
The LLC structure allows us to support great ideas and leaders no matter where they come from. And so we have the flexibility to support a great entrepreneur that's building a for-profit company. We have the flexibility to hire great teams and build tools in a very unique partnerships going both ways with scientists and labs and schools. And we also have the flexibility to get involved in social issues that we care about. Because philanthropy is tiny, we need the ability to work across sector to leverage our opportunity, because we're too tiny to sustain any one of these solution sets on our own, and it's not possible.
The primary school seems to be doing so many wraparound things, from nutrition to health to dental to teaching. Is that scalable, or is that only something that could be done like in East Palo Alto under your wing?
Our dream is that the primary school is not one special school that serves a bunch of really lucky kids. Our dream is that we are built in a sustainable way that we can leverage the public funding so that all kids have the opportunity to access this. And so that means being really diligent about how we comply with the way public and charter schools are run. All of our healthcare services right now are through the federally qualified health center that we partner with, and therefore is paid for through the public insurance system in California. So everything we do has the lens of how can we build this such that others can take it on and more kids can benefit.
I was particularly interested in your scientific work too, the Human Cell Atlas, which probably comes out of both your medical training but also your collaborative instincts. I mean, what's that about, and how do we get in biology the type of collaboration we have in other sciences?
So if you allow me, I'm going to get a little nerdy here.
This is a room full of
yes,
half-drunk nerds.
These are people. The Human Cell Atlas is a global project across many organizations that is aiming to build a reference atlas for all the human cells in different cell states. So one example could be the kidney cell in lupus. If someone has lupus, what's going on in the kidney cell that causes them to have kidney disease? I see this mutation, I see this protein overexpression, and the cells die at this rate. We know pieces of that information right now, but it's not openly available, and so fellow scientists can't build upon that knowledge. Medical providers can't use that to inform their medical practice, and people designing therapeutics can't easily access that to figure out how we develop treatments and cures for that illness. And what we're aiming to do is, the Human Cell Atlas is a project to actually open science so that all of that knowledge that we're developing in labs gets shared, and we accelerate the rate of science in general and the way cures, accelerate the rate at which we're developing great medicines. We're funding a small piece of that, but we're very cognizant that this is a big project, and we need to do what's most authentic and best fitted to our skill set at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. So what we're most invested in is building the data coordination platform that houses all of that data that scientists are sharing, and build a layer of high quality analytics so that scientists can easily look and understand different patterns and trends that they're looking at that they may not have seen otherwise.
You mentioned that you have 100 engineers, I think, which I did a bit of a double take. And now I understand they're doing things like a data sharing platform. But what else do your engineers do that relates to philanthropy?
Our engineers work alongside frontline practitioners to help them solve problems. That's the common theme. So we have engineers embedded in schools to help them build a tool that allows teachers to actually understand where their kids are at and personalize that education. I was talking to Jim about his daughter teaching elementary school and how hard it was for her to know where each of those 30 kids were at and be able to help each kid exactly where they're at. That's impossible. But that's what good teaching is. And what our tool aims to do is help the teacher understand where the different kids are in their learning progression so that she can personalize, to make groups and personalize to what each group and each kid needs. So that's one tool that we're building. We're in about 300 schools doing that. We're building the data coordination platform, but we also have a team of engineers embedded in science labs because there's a ton of creative, great work that happens in labs between one engineer and one really cutting-edge scientist. But that is always like duct tape and glue and pieced together, and no one else can ever use that tool again because it only runs on one woman or one guy's laptop. What we aim to do with our embedded engineers is actually say, this is really cool. Do you think other scientists could use this? And actually build that in a way that is stable and can be shared for all scientists to use freely.
One of the themes, both of this whole evening and I hope of the Institute and then of your conversation, has been tools that help us collaborate and help us share. I mean, both in the biomedical research field or in the K-12 education field, we have so much knowledge that isn't shared, that's not in a common database that people can't access. Do you see that as being sort of a thrust of CZI?
We would love for individuals to be able to do their work better. And working alone doesn't make you better. Working with others make you better. And there's a lot to overcome and be able to truly collaborate. But we're trying to make that easier on people. We're giving grants to incentivize a medical doctor who treats Alzheimer's, an immunologist who doesn't know anything about Alzheimer's but knows about the immune system, and an excellent neuroscientist. How do we bring those two people together? We're giving grants to do that. We're building tools to help decrease the barrier of actually sharing that information. And most of all, it's culture change. We're out there telling the story of why we think this is better, alongside all the scientists and teachers championing.
And how are you doing that in education?
In terms of
Collaborative, sharing best practices?
So we have built a community around the schools that use the piece of technology that we're sharing, building, and those schools come together every year and share best practices, and actually have ongoing relationships with what we call a mentor in the program. So those individuals are working together, but we're also funding a lot of different organizations, one of which is called Chiefs for Change, where we're funding thought leaders in the field to work together and really thinking about how we can advance education together. So we give funding flexibly, and we fund people to come together and spend time talking.
You know what? It's been so inspiring because you've hit every theme that I think we've tried to do at the Aspen Institute. So I really want to thank you. I don't know if you have any closing words or some thoughts. Send us forward and forth.
Well, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to ask you, one of the greatest interviewers and leaders, a question.
Uh-oh.
It's not too hard. You have led this organization beautifully in the past 14 years. You have interviewed, studied, thought about, written about great leaders over the course of history. What advice do you have for Mark and I as we embark on our journey?
Oh, that would be very presumptuous of me to advise you either on philanthropy or on medicine. In fact, I mean, one of the things I've learned is that those of us who get the opportunity to interview or write books about people in the arena, we don't need to fall prey to the conceit that we're also in the arena and that we can tell you what to do. I do admire you so much, and I think we have to learn from you and also learn the basic values. I mean, that's what you keep a focus on, and perhaps that would be the one thing I would say, which is you had an astounding life. You came here as a refugee, and you had amazing opportunities. Everybody in this room has the same thing. They just should wake up every morning and say, it's been astounding how lucky I've been. And I guess we're all in the endeavor to make sure that that circle of people who have opportunities can continually be broadened. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.